In today's video, we're going to be talking about the artillery load test. So first, what is a load test? A load test is a type of performance testing that evaluates the behavior of a system under specific conditions, such as a high volume of concurrent users or a heavy transaction load. The purpose of load testing is to ensure that a system can handle its expected workload and performance requirements. So we will show you user interface load test and API load test with artillery. When conducting an artillery load test, the term artillery often refers to the tool artillery, which is an open source, modern, and powerful load testing toolkit. Artillery allows users to script scenarios using YAML or JavaScript to simulate various user interactions with the system, such as making HTTP requests, WebSocket connections, or user interfaces. So some prerequisites is you need Node.js, you need npm, and Visual Studio Code. And to install artillery, you can just simply run npm install -g artillery. And in order to get artillery running, you must run and perform the following things. So you must use PowerShell and set the execute policies. And you can read more at this link right here. So I'll open this up for you. You can read more about it right here, execute policies. The second thing is you must run Windows PowerShell as administrator. And you must also run these following commands as well. So to check if artillery is installed, you can use artillery -- version, npx artillery dyno. So creating a test script. So first, to write a test script in YAML or JavaScript, we need to define the scenarios, including the target system, the number of virtual users, the duration of the test, and the types of requests to simulate. And we'll show you an example of an API example of the YAML script later. And then we also have to install npm, using npm we have to install Playwright, and we have to install the engine for Playwright as well. And then using that, we can run a user interface YAML user interface load test. And we'll show you an example of a user interface YAML script as well. So in order to run the load test, finally, we just have to follow these following commands using artillery, and then we can run the load test. So next, I'm going to show you how you can have your own artillery load test in Visual Studio Code. So right here, I have the Visual Studio Code IDE open, and for your own project, you won't have these files here, but I just written these files here beforehand to save us some time. So typically what you would do is you would go to File here, and then you would open a blank folder, and in that folder, you can just work within that folder environment. So in here, I have a few different files that I've created. I'm going to go through each of them and talk to you about them. But before that, I want to show you guys what I was mentioning earlier about how to install artillery. So earlier, we mentioned a few commands that we have to do, and so I'm just going to walk you through that. So the first command is installing artillery, and in order to do that, you can just go to the terminal in your Visual Studio Code IDE here, and you can just paste npm install -g artillery. And this is just the command that you do, and I'm just going to run it. But yeah, in the meantime, while that's loading, I'm also going to show you what we meant earlier by using PowerShell to set execute policies. So in order to do that, what you do is you go to here, search bar, and you search up Windows PowerShell right here. And then you can run as administrator here, or you can right click this and run as administrator. And once you open Windows PowerShell, you can paste your various different commands. And so for earlier, we mentioned that you would paste get execution policy list and also set execution policy list as well. So you run these two commands, and then your environment for the artillery will be good. And in order to check if artillery is installed properly, you just write artillery. You would just do artillery -- version. and that will basically show you what version you have, and that will show you that you installed artillery correctly. Another thing you can do is npx artillery dyno. You run that, and that will paste a dinosaur inside your terminal to show you that you performed it properly. And so now that once we have that set, we can talk about our load test using artillery. So first, I'm going to open the YAML file for load test, and this is what we have here. This is the YAML for load test file, and there's two main parts of this file: the config portion of the file and the scenarios portion of the file. First, in the config portion of the file, you have the target, which is the website you want to test. You also have phases, which basically specify different phases within your test. So in here, we have three different phases. We have the warm-up phase, the ramp-up phase, and the spike phase. And in each phase, you specify duration, which is how long it lasts, the arrival rate, which is how many new users per second, and then the ramp to, which is how many users concurrently are at our maximum at the same time. And so you see we have three different phases here, and in the spike phase we have 30 different concurrent users at once. In the ramp up load phase we have 10 different users at once, and in the warm up phase we have 5 different users at once. So after that, we also have the plugins right here to specify different plugins, and then we also have scenarios. So in scenarios, we basically have this loop which happens 5 times, and we test these different URLs, these 3 different URLs right here. And so that is basically the structure of the artillery load test files. And so in order for us to run this, what we do is we just do artillery run, and then you use the flag output. And for the flag output, you would specify a file name for the output you want, report.json, and then you would specify the file itself, so load test.yaml. And so you would run this, and by running this, you would be able to run this file right here. And so this takes a long time for us, so I'm not going to run this. But after you run that, it creates this JSON file right here, which has your output. And this is a little bit hard to read. So what you can do after that is you can use artillery report, and then you can do load report.json, and I'm going to press enter for this one. And it basically converts it into an HTML file right here. And what you can do is you can right click that file name, copy the path, and then go to any browser of your choice right here, paste it, and it basically opens the load report for you and shows you everything you have. So these are some different metrics it has, and you should look into, depending on what metrics you have, this will differ. And remember, this is the response time. And yeah, so these different metrics you can analyze in more detail when you run your own test. So that is the load test portion. Earlier, we also talked about the user interface portion of testing using artillery. And remember that a prerequisite for that was we have to install the Playwright engine. And so make sure you do that before you try to run this. But if I open this file up, you see this is what it looks like. Same thing, it has the config and it has the scenarios. And this is just the engine, the Playwright engine that we were referring to earlier. And same thing, we have a target phase, we have the phases, we have the in here. But we also have another thing, and that is the processor. And basically this refers to a file that we specified in another file over here that gives you the commands. Because in the scenarios you see that we're basically using this file to run different commands. And so if I open this file, we see that basically what it tells you to do is to go to Google, wait for 30 seconds, and then search ADM Lucid Solutions, press enter, and then wait another 10 seconds. So that's a very simple example, and that's what we do here. So we use that JavaScript file in order to do that. And this is user interface testing now. So again, same thing. If you wanted to run this, you would just write artillery artillery run, and then you would use the flag output UI dash report.json, and that will be the name of the output, and then the input file for the test is this. And you just run that, and you would be able to get your results. And again, I'm not going to run that because it's going to take a long time, but it'll work. Next, after you have that JSON file, like before, I'm just going to do that. You can do the same report command, and then this time I'm going to change it to UI report.json and press enter. It creates the HTML file. I can copy the path, go to my browser, paste this, and voila, you get another report, and it gives you some different metrics again, and it's yeah, and you can look through these at your own discretion. But basically, that's generally how you run either a load test using artillery or a user interface test using artillery. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you kind of learned something of how to set up artillery. I hope you learned how to write your own artillery scripts. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a like, and please subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you.